Kevin needed time to process what Chuma had just told him. At first, he rejected it completely. The idea that Patricia wasn't real felt impossible. But the more he replayed everything in his mind, the more it started to make sense. The delays. The excuses. The urgency. Slowly, the truth settled in. He had been lured into the country, and robbed. He called his mother that evening and told her everything. "I'm so sorry, Kev," she said softly. "I know how much you liked her." Kevin let out a frustrated breath. "I can't believe I got catfished. I'm a software engineer. How did I miss this? I should have seen the signs." "These people are professionals," she replied. "They know exactly what they are doing. Don't be too hard on yourself. I'm just grateful that Sergeant Chuma was there to help you, and to take care of you." When Kevin came back inside, Chuma was in the kitchen, cooking. The smell of food filled the small house. She served him dinner and handed him a cold beer, then sat beside him. They ate quietly in front of the TV. Kevin was distant that evening. The weekend had been overwhelming. Everything had happened so quickly. Later, alone in the living room, he opened his phone and stared at Patricia's photo. He tried calling her one last time. The number was disconnected. He sat there for a while, then finally deleted her number, and the photos. Before she went to bed, Chuma looked at a photo of her parents in her room. Chuma Mwanza grew up admiring her father, Superintendent Mwanza. To her, he wasn't just a parent, he was a hero. At school, she often imagined herself following in his footsteps, leading others with the same confidence and sense of purpose. Those early instincts showed quickly. She became a prefect, earning the trust of her teachers and helping maintain order among the students. After finishing school, Chuma joined the police force. The training was demanding, physically and mentally, but she refused to give up. The environment was tough, and most of her fellow trainees were men, but she stayed focused on her goal. Her hard work paid off. She performed strongly in both her exams and physical assessments, steadily proving herself. Over time, she rose through the ranks and eventually earned the position of sergeant. Sunday. Chuma woke up early, as she usually did on Sundays. She didn't attend church every week, but today she had decided she would. She was off duty, which meant she could take her time. Kevin woke a little later. "Hey," she said, tying her hair back. "I usually go to church on Sundays. Is it okay if I leave you here for a bit?" "Church?" Kevin gave a small laugh. "I haven't been since I was 18. "Then come with me." He shook his head. "I don't really feel like being around people today." Chuma frowned slightly. "I don't feel right leaving you alone here. What are you going to do?" Kevin glanced down at himself. "I don't even have anything decent to wear, unless you've still got some of your ex-boyfriend's clothes lying around." She smirked. "Actually, I do. Do you like blue shirts?" Did this guy leave behind his entire wardrobe? "No, just a few t-shirts and shirts. I need to go shopping for my own clothes." After he had bathed and changed into a light blue smart shirt from Chuma's ex, Kevin sat outside on the veranda, soaking up the morning sun. When Chuma stepped out, he looked up, and froze. She was wearing a simple, elegant dress. Her hair was neatly done, her makeup light but flattering. She looked different. Soft. Beautiful. Kevin couldn't help staring. She noticed and smiled. "Hi. I'm ready." "You look beautiful," he said, almost automatically. "Thank you," she replied, a little shyly. "You don't look so bad yourself." Kevin quickly stood up and walked ahead, opening the car door for her. Chuma paused, surprised. No one had ever done that for her before. "Wow, thank you," she said, smiling. "After you," Kevin replied, still a little awkward, but sincere. The drive to church was quiet, but not uncomfortable. Every now and then, Kevin would glance at her, then quickly look away when she caught him. The church was packed when they arrived. Kevin looked around, surprised. "Wow, this is full." Chuma smiled. "People here take church seriously." "That's impressive," he said. "Back home, it's only this busy on Christmas or Easter." After the service, Chuma introduced Kevin to a few friends. One of them, Kunda, quickly pulled her aside. "Who is that?" she whispered. "Where did you meet him? He's nice." Chuma hesitated. "He's just a friend." "A friend?" Kunda raised an eyebrow. Does he have more friends like him? Because I'm single, you know. Chuma laughed quietly. No, he doesn't. And he's just visiting. Visiting from where? The States. Kunda's eyes widened. Really? You're hiding something. I'm not, Chuma said quickly. We met through mutual friends. That's all. Kunda didn't look convinced, but Chuma did not want to explain who Kevin really was, in case the word got out about the case she was still investigating. Chuma excused herself before the questions got worse. So, she said to Kevin, what do you feel like doing? Home might be a bit boring. We could go out, maybe do some sightseeing? Kevin shrugged. Why not? Davy and Chamba went to pay a visit to Patel at his shop. It was open, even on a Sunday. Inside, Patel wasn't alone. A sharply dressed man stood behind the counter, examining a diamond ring through a loop. Wow, the man said, lowering it slowly. This looks nearly flawless. A 2-carat engagement ring, round brilliant solitaire, set in 18-carat gold. I'd estimate it's worth around $10,000. Davy's eyes widened. 10,000? That's a lot of money. Do you know anyone who would buy it? The man chuckled dryly. You're joking, right? Who has that kind of cash lying around, for a ring? Even if they did, most people here would rather buy a car or a house. It's beautiful, yes, but not exactly practical. Davy frowned. So, we're stuck with it. I could take it off your hands, the man said casually. $1,000. Chamba shook his head immediately. No. That's way below its value. It has no paperwork, the man replied, placing the ring gently on the counter. Without certification, it's a high-risk item. If it had proper documentation, you could ask for much more. But like this? It's worth what someone is willing to risk. And right now, that's me, at 1,000. Davy leaned forward. What do you mean paperwork? The man raised an eyebrow. You don't know? Diamonds are valued by the 4 Cs, cut, color, clarity, and carat weight. A certificate verifies all of that. He picked up the ring again. This one appears to be AD color, completely colorless. Clarity looks like VVS1, nearly flawless. Carat? It seems like 2, but I'd need documentation to confirm. And the cut, round brilliant, the most desirable. On paper, this is a premium piece. Without proof? It's just a risk. He set it down again. So, $1,000. That includes the gold setting. Take it or leave it. Davy hesitated, then said, I could consider more, if you include the handbags. Handbags? The man asked. Chamba stepped in. A brand new Birkin goes for over $12,000. And the Louis Vuitton, at least $1,000. The man smiled faintly. Then perhaps you should keep them. Davy quickly interjected, what if you give us $5,000, for everything? Patel, who had been silent until now, leaned in. $4,500. Davy shook his head. $4,800. Final offer. I'll even throw in a Louis Vuitton belt. The man exchanged a glance with Patel, then nodded. Deal. They shook hands. Even though the deal was far below the true value, Davy and Chamba accepted the money and left the shop, relieved, but unaware of what they had just given up. Kumar slipped the ring into his pocket, a small smile forming on his lips. He knew someone who could forge an IGI certificate, one convincing enough to pass scrutiny. With the right paperwork, the ring could easily sell for its full value in his high-end jewelry store. He had just made nearly $20,000. Patel watched them leave, equally satisfied. When the ring sold, his finder's fee would be waiting. Back at Davy's house, Sa was busy cleaning his bedroom. The late afternoon light filtered through the curtains as she swept the floor, humming softly to herself. Always dust under the bed, people forget that part, she muttered, bending down slightly as she pushed the broom underneath. The broom suddenly snagged on something. Eh? What's that now? She said, frowning. She nudged it further in, then carefully pulled it back out. Something dark slid into view. Sa froze. A passport? She crouched down and picked it up. Her eyes narrowed as she read the cover. United States, she whispered. What is this doing here? Curiosity got the better of her. She opened it slowly. Inside was the photograph of a Caucasian man with long dark hair. Saar blinked. "That's not Mr. Davy," she said under her breath. "Not even close." She flipped through a few pages, her confusion growing. How did this even get here? And why would he have someone else's passport? She glanced nervously toward the door, then back at the room. "There must be more," she murmured. Saar stood up and looked around carefully. Her eyes landed on the wardrobe. "I've seen him reach up there before, thought I didn't notice," she said quietly. She dragged a small stool closer, climbed up, and reached to the top. Her fingers brushed against something metallic. "Got you." She pulled down a small key and climbed back down. "Let's see what you're hiding, Mr. Davy." She walked over to the chest of drawers and tried the key in the locked drawer. It clicked open. Inside, neatly arranged, were bundles of cash, British pounds and American dollars. Saar's eyes widened. "Oh my, this is serious money," she whispered. "What kind of work are you doing?" Her heart started racing. This is not normal at all. Just then, the sound of the front door opening echoed through the house. Saar's head snapped up. "Ah, he's back already?" Panic surged through her. She quickly shoved the money back into place, closed the drawer, and locked it. She rushed to return the key to the top of the wardrobe. "Calm down, Saar, act normal, just act normal," she whispered to herself. She hurried back to the bed and tossed the passport underneath, then grabbed her broom and resumed sweeping as if nothing had happened. Moments later, Davy stepped into the room. Saar kept her head down, moving the broom in steady strokes. "Good afternoon, sir," she said politely, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Without waiting for questions, she straightened up. "I've just finished cleaning here. I'll move on to the next room." She gave a small, respectful nod and walked past him, doing her best not to look back. But her mind was spinning. Something is very wrong in this house, she thought. Who was that girl I saw on Mr. Davy's computer a few months ago? She is not his girlfriend. Saar was thinking about the pretty girl she had seen on Davy's computer, Patricia. She had never seen Patricia visiting Mr. Davy at his house, and she was way above his league. Mr. Davy could not afford a girlfriend like that. She looked sophisticated, very pretty, always wearing red lipstick. Kevin and Chuma spent the afternoon driving around Lusaka, through woodlands, Long Acres, and other neighborhoods. Kevin was surprised. "This is not what I expected at all," he said. "Everything I've seen on TV makes it look completely different." Chuma nodded. "They only show certain parts." He noticed the traffic, the expensive cars, Mercedes, BMWs, Range Rovers, and the large houses behind high wall fences. "Why are the fences so high?" he asked. "Security," she replied simply. "There's a lot of theft." Kevin nodded slowly. "Back home, people rely more on garages than walls." "Different realities," she said. "There's poverty here. People do what they need to feel safe." "But there's also community," Kevin added. "You can feel it." Chuma smiled. "That's how we manage." Later on, they went to Kabulonga Shopping Center, picked up a few things. Kevin needed to buy some clothes, so Chuma took him shopping. They eventually ended up at Mundawanga. They walked through the park, seeing zebras, monkeys, crocodiles, and lions. It felt light, easy, like none of the stress from the past few days existed. Kevin had forgotten all about Patricia by now. He was no longer stressed. He was relaxed and enjoying the moment. He was laughing freely, whenever monkeys came nearby. They stayed longer than they planned, even having dinner there. By the time they got home, they were both exhausted. Back in the kitchen, Kevin tried to help. "Let me at least make you some tea," he said. "You don't have to," Chuma replied. "I feel like I should. You've done a lot for me." He hesitated, then pulled out some money and offered it to her. "Here, please. For everything." Chuma shook her head. "No, Kevin. It's okay." But for a brief second, her mind wandered, to bills, to responsibilities, to how much easier life could be with that money. Still, she pushed the thought away. "I said it's fine," she added gently. They stood face to face in the small kitchen. They held each other's gaze for a moment longer than either of them expected. Something unspoken passed between them. Kevin stepped closer, almost instinctively, and wrapped his arms around Chuma, pulling her gently toward him. She didn't resist. Their lips met, softly at first, then with a quiet certainty. The kiss felt natural, effortless, like it had been waiting to happen. For a brief moment, everything else faded away. Kevin was the first to pull back, a little startled by how easily it had happened. "I'm sorry? I didn't mean," he began. Chuma gave a small, dismissive smile, trying to brush it off. "It's okay," she said lightly. But neither of them could ignore the spark that had passed between them, the sudden rush, the electricity that lingered even after they stepped apart. Kevin tried to steady himself, confused by how strongly he felt it. They moved into the living room and sat on the couch, the television playing quietly in the background. Neither of them spoke for a while. Eventually, Kevin opened up. He told her about his past relationships, how they had left him guarded, how success in his software business had made it difficult to know who was genuine. He admitted how much he had believed in Patricia, how he thought she was different. "I feel stupid," he said quietly. "I should have known better." Chuma listened, her expression softening. She reassured him that it could happen to anyone. With technology advancing so quickly, these kinds of scams were becoming more sophisticated. It wasn't as simple as it seemed. The conversation shifted. Chuma shared a little about her own past, her ex-boyfriend, how things had ended abruptly, and how they had never really been right for each other anyway. She caught herself before saying too much, aware of how easily emotions could complicate things. "Do you want to know why I have so many of his clothes?" "I'm afraid to ask," answered Kevin. "Well, he borrowed money from me. A huge chunk of my salary. He promised he would pay me back that same week on Friday when he got paid. I foolishly believed him and handed over most of my salary, leaving only enough to buy food for a week. Then, as Friday approached and I asked for my money back, he started laughing. I couldn't believe it. He said he didn't have it." Kevin looked surprised. "Yes, he had gone partying with his friends using my salary, with no plans to pay it back. He was flat broke." "How did you survive that month?" "Well, I own this house, so I didn't have to pay rent or any mortgage, but my friend lent me some money for food and bills that month until payday." "What a jerk," Kevin said. "But that's not the end of the story. I decided to punish him." "What did you do?" "I went to his house demanding my money back. When he refused to give it to me, I packed a bag of his best clothes and took them with me." Kevin looked down at the clothes he was wearing. "Really? These clothes? You grabbed these clothes from him as punishment?" "Yes," Chuma smiled. "I meant to take them to the market and give them to someone to sell for me to recover the money, but I never got round to it." "Aren't you a police officer? Why didn't you take him to court?" "I wouldn't have been able to afford a lawyer. He took my money, remember?" Kevin smiled and reached out for her hand, to offer comfort. "I'm so sorry you had to go through that. But looks like you punished him appropriately." They looked at each other for a moment and smiled. Sensing the weight of the evening, she stood up. "It's getting late," she said gently. Kevin nodded. "You are right, it is." They parted for the night, both aware that something had changed between them, even if neither of them was ready to say it out loud. Before she went to bed, Chuma thought about how she would find out who had used Patricia to lure Kevin into the country. She had heard that normally the victims did not lose their passports, because they had their passports on them at the time of the robbery. Most tourists kept their cash and passports in small bags on their person. What had happened to Kevin was unusual in that he also had his passport stolen. Most people just got robbed of their bank cards and cash. "I know, I could use a picture of Patricia, and see if anyone comes forward with information," she thought. The next day was Monday. Even though it was officially a public holiday, Chuma was working with a small team at the police station. She briefed Sergeant Andrew on her plan. "We could put up the picture in the newspaper," Andrew suggested. "That will cost a lot of money. How about we just use posters around the area, see if anyone has seen her?" After clearing with their superiors, they printed posters and stuck them in public places such as the markets, bus stations, and police posts. They also used social media to spread the word, on their official police Facebook and Twitter's pages. Someone is bound to have seen this picture, even if the girl is not real. Maybe someone knows who created her image, Chuma thought. There were a few cases they dealt with that day. Someone reported a stolen car wheel rim. He had parked his vehicle in front of his house and the next day, one of the wheel rims was missing. Another lady in the market reported a theft. Two men had stolen some of her T-shirts that she had on the stand. She had had to close up shop early to report the incident. Meanwhile, back at the house, Kevin woke up and found Chuma had gone to work. As he was opening the kitchen windows, he had had enough of seeing those leaves in the back garden. After his breakfast, he found a rake in the backyard and started raking the leaves together. After working in the garden, he wanted a bath, but there was no hot water. He didn't know how Chuma heated bathing water. So, he decided to take a taxi at the nearby taxi rank to East Park Shopping Mall, Builder's Warehouse. There, he bought a brand new geyser and asked one of the workers in the shop to come home and help him install it at a fee. After they fitted a new working geyser, Kevin was able to take a hot bath. He couldn't wait to see the look on Patricia's face when she got home and found the hot water working. When Chuma got home that evening, she went to the kitchen to get some water to drink. She noticed that dry leaves in the garden were gone. The garden looked clean, after so many months. She smiled. She knew Kevin had cleaned up, even though he didn't have to. She called out his name as she was walking through the house. He answered. "Over here," he answered from the bathroom. "Come in. I want to show you something." "No, whatever it is, I can wait until you finish," she protested. "Just come in, I'm decent," he said. Kevin did not care that he was just wearing a towel. He thought he was decent. He was too excited to tell her about the hot water. Chuma opened the door slowly as if afraid of what she might see behind the door. When she walked in, she was taken aback by his beauty. His bare chest, his wet hair. He looked like a model. He took her breath away. "Chuma, look. You have hot water. Come on, feel it." "That's amazing. What did you do? How did you do that?" she said, trying to keep her eyes off his beautiful and well-built body. "Come on, feel it," he said. He grabbed her hand and drew her closer to the sink so that she could feel the warm water. However, Chuma felt a lot more other things than the warm water under the tap. "Isn't it amazing?" he asked, innocently. "Wow, it is amazing," Chuma responded, not really referring to the hot water, but rather his body. Her pulse started racing, her hormones were going crazy just standing this close to Kevin. She tried to keep her eyes on his face, but took a sneak peek at his chest once in a while, whenever he was not looking at her face. He explained how he had quickly Googled where to buy a geyser, had taken a taxi at the nearby taxi rank to East Park Shopping Mall and bought the geyser. He explained how he had installed the new geyser with the help of the handyman. "Oh, he took the old geyser away. I hope you were not attached to it emotionally," Kevin teased. "Oh no, not at all," she managed to say. Chuma was lost in his eyes. She was looking at how handsome he looked with wet hair in his chest. Those killer abs. Was he doing this to her deliberately? She couldn't believe that he was unaware of the impact he was having on her body. It was unbelievable. She quickly excused herself from the room before she did something she would regret. "I'll leave you to finish up. I'll be in the kitchen making dinner." Kevin looked puzzled when she left. He wasn't sure if she was happy that the geyser was working now. He wasn't sure if he had been reading her face properly. He hoped she was happy. Meanwhile, Davy was buttering up his next victim.